Joni Lamb's father sexually harassed her by touching her inappropriately during what he called quiet time. Joni Lamb's father, Bill Trammell, is the network's manager of special projects, the lawsuit said.
They say judgment begins in the house of God. But what happens when those who claim to spread the gospel are the ones hiding the darkest secrets? This is the story Daystar television network doesn't want you to hear. A story of power, manipulation, and a cover-up that runs deep. We're peeling back the layers on shocking allegations against Bill Trammell, the father of Joni Lamb, and the wider culture of secrecy within one of the most powerful Christian broadcasting networks in the world. Stay with us, because by the end of this, you might start questioning everything you thought you knew about Daystar. Bill Trammell isn't a household name, but his influence within Daystar was undeniable. As the manager of special projects, Trammell wasn't just an outsider. He was family. The father of Joni Lamb, co-founder of Daystar, he worked behind the scenes with key figures like Marcus Lamb, shaping the network's internal workings. But what was happening behind the curtain was far from the Christian values they preached. For years, Trammell was seen as a respected leader, someone who helped Daystar grow into a broadcasting empire. But behind the polished sermons and emotional broadcasts, an unsettling reality was brewing. Employees whispered about his inappropriate behavior, but in a culture where power was centralized, those whispers were quickly silenced. In a lawsuit filed by a former employee, Bill Trammell was accused of repeated SA. The accusations paint a disturbing picture of a man who allegedly took advantage of his position, using his authority to initiate inappropriate interactions under the guise of what he called quiet time.
In the second case, another former employee claimed Joni Lamb's father sexually harassed her by touching her inappropriately during what he called quiet time.
According to the lawsuit, Trammell would engage in unwanted physical contact, ignoring clear signs of discomfort from the victim. One chilling statement from the lawsuit reads, Trammell repeatedly insisted on these so-called quiet times, during which he touched me in ways that made me uncomfortable. Despite expressing my discomfort, the behavior persisted. The lawsuit also details how Trammell allegedly manipulated his victims, leveraging his close relationship with Daystar leadership to make sure no one would believe them if they spoke out. And here's where things get even more troubling. Daystar's leadership allegedly knew about this and chose to ignore it. Why? Because protecting their image was more important than seeking justice. In a lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court in Dallas back in February 2011, former Daystar employee Jennifer Falcon detailed disturbing allegations against Bill Trammell. According to the lawsuit, which accuses Trammell of creating a hostile work environment, his behavior during quiet time sessions was not only inappropriate, it was predatory. The complaint states that starting in 2007, Trammell would force Falcon to hug him tightly for extended periods. He would often position his hands very close to her breasts or buttocks and, on more than one occasion, instructed her to sit on his lap. Falcon, who had faithfully worked for Daystar for 9 years, initially endured these encounters. The lawsuit reveals that despite her clear discomfort and multiple protests, Trammell's explicit and increasingly personal comments continued. In one particularly disturbing account, he told her that no one could love her the way he would, and even expressed a desire to be her husband. At one point, he installed a secret camera outside his office to monitor if anyone was approaching. Further evidence of his invasive behavior. Moreover, the allegations claim that Trammell once assured Falcon that he was grooming her to take his job when he retired. Imagine that you are leading a department in a Christian ministry, one co-founded by your own daughter, and where you are expected to uphold the highest moral standards as a married man. Yet, you engage in such behavior. This disturbing promise, layered with personal overtones, was coupled with an unmistakable abuse of power. When Falcon finally summoned the courage to request a transfer, hoping a new supervisor might shield her from his unwelcome advances, Trammell refused. Instead, the situation worsened. In December 2009, things took a sudden and painful turn. Bill Trammell had visited Jennifer Falcon to bring her soup while she was sick, a gesture that should have been kind. But during that visit, both his wife and his daughter, Joni Lamb, discovered the true nature of his inappropriate relationship with Falcon, which had been hidden for far too long. This revelation shocked everyone. The trust that people had in the ministry was broken in an instant. The very next day, Joni Lamb acted quickly by demoting Falcon, stripping her of her responsibilities as a clear warning to others. Despite Falcon's history of strong performance, she had even received an outstanding review just weeks earlier. She was punished as part of a broader effort to keep the scandal under wraps. This case is not an isolated incident in Daystar's history. Previously, the network was rocked by another scandal when co-founder Marcus Lamb publicly confessed to an extramarital affair, an admission that sent shockwaves throughout the ministry and its followers. In the wake of that scandal, insiders alleged that Daystar pressured employees to cover up the affair, further deepening suspicions of systemic corruption. The handling of these multiple controversies points to a worrying pattern. When scandal threatens to tarnish the ministry's image, Daystar's leadership seems to prioritize damage control over transparency. In the case of Bill Trammell, instead of launching a thorough investigation into his conduct, Daystar dismissed the allegations as outrageous.
But Daystar issued a statement saying the allegations were outrageous. Actually, the allegations against Joni Lamb's father were not outrageous, and several people can attest to the fact that this employee was forced to have quiet time and as he groped her. So no, you lied there too, all right?
The network's official statement, released soon after the lawsuit was filed, emphasized that ministry attorneys would vigorously defend against the claims. This pattern of denial and cover-up appears to be embedded in the very fabric of Daystar's institutional culture. Employees were reportedly warned against discussing internal matters, and those who spoke out risked severe professional repercussions. In an environment where silence is enforced, misconduct not only thrives, but is also concealed from public view. A clear, disturbing pattern emerges. Time after time, the network has chosen to silence victims and protect its image rather than serve justice. From the cover-up of Marcus Lamb's affair to the case involving Jonathan and Susie Lamb's daughter by a family member, Pete, the same cycle repeats. And it all began with Joni's own father. Joni Lamb has consistently shielded the ministry instead of upholding biblical morality. Now, with the recent tragedy involving her own granddaughter, it's painfully evident. The drive to protect the network has blinded her to the true call for justice. The legal battles surrounding these allegations have drawn national attention. The lawsuit filed by Jennifer Falcon, handled by Dallas attorney James Fisher, the same lawyer who has represented other former Daystar employees, has become a symbol of the fight for justice against powerful institutions. Fisher's representation extends to other cases, including one involving former employee Jeanette Hawkins, who claimed she suffered emotional distress after being pressured to participate in a cover-up of Marcus Lamb's extramarital affair. In that case, despite a police investigation launched by Bedford authorities, no charges were ultimately filed.
Jim Fisher, the Dallas attorney who is representing the women who filed both lawsuits, said he had represented a third former employee who settled a lawsuit against the ministry last year. Oh, a third one. Okay. Fisher characterized the claim in that lawsuit as harassment. The common denominator in all of them is a lack of integrity and a lack of adherence to the moral principles that Daystar purports to adhere to, he said. The former employee, camera operator Paul Bonanno, listed a variety of allegations in the suit, including an incident in February 2007 in which he claimed a co-worker assaulted him when she bumped into him from behind. The lawsuit did not specifically claim sexual harassment, but in the letter to Joni Lamb before the case was filed, Bonanno's original attorney said that he had advised his client to file a federal complaint alleging age, race, and sexual harassment. The letter was attached to an exhibit in the lawsuit. Court records show, now this is the important part that I think Joni Lamb might want to take heed of before she spews any further lies. Court records show Fisher took the case over from the Bonanno's first attorney and amended the lawsuit in October to a simple claim of retaliation. It was settled a month later. Settled. You had to pay. Something happened there. You didn't win.
Bill Trammell's passing on April 10, 2020, may have closed one chapter, but the legacy of the alleged abuses continues to reverberate through Daystar and the broader community. His death does not absolve the network of its responsibility to address the culture of silence and complicity that allowed such behavior to thrive. Instead, it should serve as a catalyst for introspection, a reminder that accountability must extend to every level of leadership. As we close, remember this. Although Bill Trammell is no longer with us, the scars his actions left remain. Jonathan and Susie Lamb's daughter, the little Lamb, still cries out for the justice she deserves. We must not let her voice be drowned out by silence. If we raise our voices together, we can demand that this case be reopened and that justice be served for Falcon. Our collective call for accountability can shine a light on these dark chapters and ensure that no child's cry for help is ignored again.